I'm John.
And I'm Josh.
2022 college football season is coming to an end.
Absolutely. It's kind of sad, but
It is kind of sad.
It's been
hard
quite
to
the
believe.
season, yeah.
It has. It has. It's always short. It always seems like good night. It's already gone. But let's talk before we talk about Week 14 and some of the conference championship games. Let's talk about the Week 13 rivalry games and the upsets that you called.
Yeah, so I got 1 out of 2, which, upset picks is good. Yeah. So Oregon State beat Oregon, which was a bold call, but they looked really good. It came down to the very end. Oregon actually got the lead in the second half by, I think it was like 14, 17 points, and Oregon State just kind of bullied their way back in to take the win, 38-34.
Yeah.
I missed the Notre Dame game. The one time I decided to trust the Irish just didn't come through. USC won 38-27.
Which solidified
as expected,
USC.
and it did solidify them. Obviously, they were in the conference championship game no matter what, but it did solidify them.
So a couple games from Week 13. Just want to mention the Egg Bowl we talked about last week. Yeah. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and it was a battle.
It was this really year. Mississippi State won by 2 points.
Yeah, and only because Ole Miss, they had to go for 2. Yeah. When they at the end where they scored. They were coming back. They couldn't get the 2.
The Egg Bowl the past couple of years has just been a game worth watching. Yeah. It really has. So,
yep. And then Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama. Not a lot to mention here. Robbie Ashford, he did a really good job. Alabama struggles with mobile quarterbacks, and
Ashford seems to be the future for Auburn.
He does.
And now Hugh Freeze has him as QB coming back next year. Hugh Freeze was just hired.
Controversial
per usual. Is it just going to be another head coach that Auburn pays $15 million to fire? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we will. Okay, Week 14, the conference championships. Let's start off with Mountain West.
Yeah.
So we have 8-4 Fresno State. They're going to be against 9-3 Boise State, who's undefeated in Mountain West. Yeah. And this is a rematch. They've already faced each other.
The first time Boise faced Fresno State, their quarterback, Jack Hayner, was injured and was not in the game. Since he's been back, they have won every single game.
Yep.
They also won every single game before he got injured. He looks really good, right? I think 300-plus passing yards almost every single game that he plays. He's going to be a difference maker in this one.
Yeah.
And to me, almost gives Fresno State the nod or the edge, especially considering Boise's pass defense and just defense in general has looked a little lackluster towards the end of the season here.
Yeah.
Fresno State came off a huge win against Wyoming, 30-0.
Nothing.
Absolutely walloped them. I like to wish in my head that maybe Boise tired them out in the 17-14 win that we got over them. Yeah. And then Boise, not like the scoreboard shows, struggled against Utah State.
Yeah.
They got the win in the end 42-23, but it was 28-23 with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you bet against that spread and Boise scores twice in 2 minutes to ruin all that, but that's tough. Either way, I don't know what's going to happen.
Boise is a home field advantage.
It is. It'll be cold too, but last time Fresno played Boise in the conference championship and it was cold, they beat us. So I think it's going to be a really good game. And it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Can our freshman Taylon Green pick up and compete against the experience that is Jake Hayner?
Okay,
so
we'll see. Very true. Very true. Okay, then we have Coastal Carolina. They're going to be facing Troy.
Troy's having a phenomenal season.
They are. They're having a really
good season.
Couple
close, not so great looking wins, but I mean they've only lost twice, right? And that's a great season in my mind.
Yeah. And now the weird thing about this one, you talked about James Madison that that they're not allowed to because this is their first time in
1A in the Sun Belt, so they can't compete.
Just came off a win against Coastal Carolina, 47-7.
Yeah, they actually won their division, right? So they're number 1 in their division, but Coastal gets to make it anyway.
That's right,
due to those regulations. Kind of dumb, kind of dumb regulations in my mind.
Yeah.
I think Troy wins this. Grayson McCall is still out. Ever since he's been out, Coastal's had nothing, right? Yeah. No answers offensively, just nothing. Grayson McCall is this team's heart and soul offensively. Yeah. So with him still being out, I just expect Troy to win.
And Troy's got it at home, so
they do.
Yeah. All right, then you have number 22 UCF. They're going to be facing number 18 Tulane. This is also a rematch. UCF's already won this one, not by a lot, 27-24. Yeah.
I didn't talk about this a lot when we were talking about Fresno and Boise, but I am a firm believer that in rematches, the edge typically goes to the team that lost initially. I think it's so hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah. Sure.
That being said, I'm now going to go 2 for 2 and choose the teams that did win the first time against my own advice, and I do think UCF actually pulls this off, beats Tulane, and goes to the Group of 6 bowl game the New Year's 6 bowl game for the Group of 5. So we'll see what happens.
We will. Number 9, Clemson. They're going to be at number 23, UNC. And it was pretty amazing because Clemson's coming off a loss to South Carolina.
Yep.
Clemson had a 40-game home win streak that was just broken by South Carolina.
Which, by the way, look out for South Carolina next year because Beamer
that
seems
Beamer
like
ball is going really.
He's turned some things around there. So look out.
That's right. So what do you think is going to happen with this one?
It's so funny because this game just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, it just doesn't, right?
True.
Obviously, it's these teams. Like, whoever wins will get the New Year's 6 game for who's ACC going to the Orange Bowl. I'm not even sure anymore at this point.
Remember,
But they'll get to play in a big money bowl game.
Yeah.
But man, both just coming off disappointing losses.
UNC 2 in a row.
Yeah,
2 losses.
I gotta go with Clemson. I just think they're still the more talented team, but you never know. I'm curious to see how many players sit out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Number 11, Utah. It's going to be at number 4, USC. This is also a rematch. And the first time around, Utah actually beat USC.
Only
by
lost,
1.
Right? USC's only lost to a decent Utah team.
43-42. So it was like a good night. No defense at all in that one. But
if we have any Pac-12 fans out there, please explain to us why Utah is in this game.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about it. I even tried reading stuff about it. Like, I'm still not exactly sure why they were picked over specifically Washington.
Yes. Washington, Oregon, and Utah were all 7-2 in the conference.
Like, Oregon also beat Utah, right?
Yes.
So, like, it's just none of it. I don't know.
It is.
It's just confusing. Yeah. I think USC remains.
Oregon, I understand why they're not in. They just got beat by Oregon State.
So, but Washington looks great. I don't know.
They do. They did. Washington did have that loss to Arizona State earlier in the season, which was just
mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's.
I think USC remains in the top 4, makes it to the playoffs, and beats Utah.
Yeah, so, most likely that will be the case.
Yeah, Williams is looking good. That's what I foresee happening.
Yep. Number 10, Kansas State. They're going to be at number 3, TCU. Also a rematch. And so Kansas State, they just creamed Kansas in this past week.
Yeah.
And so Kansas State's already lost to TCU by 10.
Right.
And
TCU's looked good the past 2 games as well. Yeah. If I had to pick one of them to be an upset, I think this is probably in my mind the most likely.
Okay.
To be an upset.
A possible one.
Yeah. Most possible.
Not the next one.
I will say this as well. Not the next 2. I'll say this as well. And I'll just talk about this. Give me like 30 seconds and I'll try to be fast. If I'm talking about Ohio State and Alabama here. 2 teams sitting on the outside looking in, hoping for something to happen.
Yes.
If Utah beats USC, USC is out. Ohio State is in.
Yeah. If
TCU, Georgia, or Michigan win, I still think they stay in the top 4. Especially if it's close. The only one that really might not is Michigan since it's against an unranked Purdue. Mm-hmm. But like if TCU loses in a close game to the number 10 team in the country, I don't see how you put a team that won their conference championship or made it to the conference championship and has been doing well all season
to a team that
hasn't made it that far, right? Ohio State and Alabama. So I don't know what'll happen. There could be some really interesting scenarios here if there's some losses.
No,
like if LSU beats Georgia, that's the next game. If LSU beats Georgia, do you not maybe think, okay, well, Ohio State lost to the number 2 team in the country as opposed to Georgia lost to the number 14, but Georgia made it to the conference championship. There's so much that goes into this. We could have a really controversial
This is going to be solved when they change everything and have the conference champions going into But at this point, it is still complicated and still a little bit.
Now that being said, I think Georgia Bulls just destroys LSU.
So we'll
go
ahead into that one.
I would be shocked if they pull anything off.
Yeah.
Same for Purdue at Michigan.
Especially LSU just coming off this loss to Texas A&M. Inexplicable. I mean, it's like what?
A&M didn't even make a bowl game this year. That's just sad.
Yeah.
Same for Purdue and Michigan. Like the fact that Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are on the same side of the conference. This is why you get rid of conference, right? It's conference size. That's it's ridiculous that Purdue has made it into this bowl game.
It is.
It should have been a rematch either against Penn State or against Ohio State.
Yes.
Michigan is going to crush Purdue.
Yeah.
Right? So Georgia and Michigan, in my mind.
Especially Michigan coming off that win against Ohio State that was a crushing.
Yeah.
I mean, really it was.
Yeah, so Georgia and Michigan, in my mind, are locks. TCU and USC, in my mind, could potentially lose.
Yeah.
And remember, if USC loses, that immediately gives Ohio State the nod into the playoffs. So just pay attention. It's going to really, really potentially be, especially if there's some upsets here, a controversial ending.
It could be very controversial. Yeah.
So,
all right, let's talk about one last game.
Yes, sir.
One last game. Samford, there you go. Samford, they're going to be facing Southeastern Louisiana. And Samford's only had one loss to Georgia this season. So they've had a great season.
Offensively, Samford has looked amazing. It's going to be at 2 on Saturday, Central Time. Couple things to note here. One, Southeastern Louisiana has already played a game to make it to this point in the playoffs, right? Samford had a bye because they were more successful throughout the season, so they got that little edge over them. I think they're ranked 4th in it. So Southeastern, I don't know if that's advantage or disadvantage. In my mind, it's almost like nice to not, like a 2-week break is a long time.
Yeah.
Right? And so it just, I guess, depends on what Samford did over the bye. But I do expect Samford to win this one and at least make it one more game into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. Go Bulldogs.
That's right. That's right. So that's it for Week 14. And we'll see what the results are of the conference championships.